To start, I'm going to take off the wheel. If you have a hubcap and the little lug nut caps, go ahead and take those off with a 19 millimeter. If not, just go ahead and take off the lug nuts with a 19 millimeter. Remove the wheel. For the rear shock, I'm going to start up here at these two mounting nuts. 13 millimeter socket, remove both of them. Pull this down to make sure that it actually breaks free, which it does. We'll leave that here for now. Let's unbolt it from the bottom. On the bottom here, you'll see a 21 millimeter bolt. Remove that. I'm holding the shock at the same time. That way it doesn't want to fall down. Take the bolt completely out. Make sure this washer stays with it. Pull the shock straight down. There it is. And there was another washer on the side with the knuckle here. So this went here, then the shock, and then the bolt with the other washer. To finish removing the shock from this mount, because this is actually a separate piece, take a 17 millimeter socket, put it over this top nut here, and hopefully this does the trick. If not, I'll show you what to do, but you want to remove the nut. That'll free this mount off of the shock. Okay, so that worked. Sometimes what happens is the whole stud with the shock will spin, and so the nut won't actually come off. In that case, you can clamp some locking pliers on here and then use a wrench to wrench this off. For me, the air gun worked. If you don't have one, the locking pliers is what you're going to have to do most likely. Now you can take this off and you can recycle this old shock. Take your new shock, remove the nut here and then the two washers. Take your shock mount and put it on. Make sure it goes with this castle part down, top washer, and then put the new nut on. This is going to be pretty hard to torque because if you go to spin it by hand, the whole thing's just going to spin. So I'm just going to use my air gun and snug it down. If you had to do it by hand, you would have to hold it with locking pliers and then spin it with a wrench, in which case it's also impossible to torque. So just make sure it's tight. That's good right there. And now before we fully install this shock, I want to start it or prime it. Basically, what that entails is compress it down all the way 3 to 5 times until it mixes up all of the gases that are inside of it and the oils. You want that to all mix together because it's under pressure, and if they don't mix and they're separated, once you drive down the road, you'll hear clunking over bumps, which is not good. So just do this 3 to 5 times. Make sure it goes all the way up and then all the way down. There we go. We'll do that again, and then we'll get ready to install. As you do this, you'll notice that it will get stiffer and stiffer. That's normal. That's exactly what you want. Let's get the shock back in, slide it down, and I'm going to start with attaching it at the top first. That way it's held in place. Start on your two nuts here. Let's torque them to 18 foot-pounds. Now let's reattach the bottom. Put the bolt through. Don't forget the washer that goes in between the knuckle and the bolt, or the shock. Compress the shock up, line up the bolt, start it in, snug it up, and then we'll torque it to 133 foot-pounds. Let's get the wheel back on. Start on all 5 of your lug nuts, bottom them out, and torque them to 100 foot-pounds. And then of course, if you have a hubcap, you would put that on after. Mine's missing, but basically has little plastic 19 millimeter caps. You can just screw it onto the lug nuts.